In a galaxy where every war is calculated, one human stands silent in a room of 300 alien tacticians. His combat record is a myth, his methods a mystery. What secret could make the galaxy's fiercest warriors tremble? Watch now to uncover the truth or regret missing the lesson that changed the stars forever. Asterisk, an alien fleet appears from nowhere, outsmarting the galaxy's greatest defenses. One human knows why, but he's not fighting. Why is he forcing the galaxy's best to face their doom alone? Dive into this story now, or miss the twist that redefines warfare. Asterisk, they called him a relic, a human with no place in a civilized galaxy. Then the alarm screamed, and 1,200 alien ships surrounded the War College. What makes humans the galaxy's most terrifying survivors? Click now to find out before the enemy learns your secrets. The auditorium of the Interstellar War College was a marvel of engineering, its domed ceiling shimmering with holographic star charts that mapped conflicts spanning 1,000 systems. Today, it was filled to capacity with 300 of the galaxy's most promising tacticians, cadets from the razor-clawed Takari, the logic-driven Cypherians, and the stoic, crystal-skinned Vorn. They sat in rigid anticipation, their eyes fixed on the human standing at the center of the stage. He was unremarkable by galactic standards. No armor, no insignia, just a worn flight jacket and a gaze that seemed to pierce through time itself. For 53 minutes, he hadn't spoken a word. Admiral Vilaris, a Takari veteran with a mane of silver, quills, was midway through an introduction that felt increasingly hollow. "Our guest today," he growled, his voice amplified by the auditorium's acoustics, "is a representative of Earth's defense forces, a species new to the galactic stage but noteworthy for their unconventional methods." A ripple of dismissive chuckles passed through the crowd. The Cypherians exchanged data packets, their bioluminescent eyes flickering with skepticism. The human remained still, his silence louder than the murmurs. The Vorn instructor beside Vilaris, her crystalline form glinting under the lights, activated the central holographic projector. "Let's begin with your operational history," she said, her tone clipped. The display flared to life, and the room fell silent. The first entry listed a skirmish on a forgotten asteroid belt, 15 humans against 3,000 automated drones. Outcome: human victory, 0 casualties. The second entry described the defense of a civilian colony against a swarm of bioengineered predators. Outcome: colony intact, human losses negligible. By the third entry, a solo operation that halted. An entire pirate armada, the Terry cadets were no longer chuckling. A Cypherian dropped her tablet, its clatter echoing in the stunned silence. "This cannot be accurate," Admiral Valera said, his quills bristling. "Your unit's survival rate defies statistical probability. The mathematics suggest." He stopped, recalculating. "You were alone for the Zikra incident." The human finally spoke, his voice low but sharp, cutting through the room like a vibroblade. "Mathematics assumes your enemy fights for the same reasons you do." Every head turned. The Vorn instructor's crystals dimmed slightly, a sign of unease. "You don't want to know how we fight. You want to know why we win." A Takari general in the front row, his claws flexing, leaned forward. "And why is that?" The human's eyes scanned the room, lingering on each species as if measuring their worth. "Because we don't fight to win. We fight to make sure there's nothing left to fight." The auditorium's air grew heavy, the weight of his words pressing against the audience's instincts. The Cypherians' data streams slowed, their algorithms struggling to parse the statement. "Computer," the human said, stepping toward the holographic projector, "load my operational archive into the tactical simulator." "Full spectrum, no." "Filters." The system hummed, then stuttered. Red warnings flashed across the display. "Scenario parameters exceed safety protocols. Cadet survival probability, 4%. Psychological evaluation mandatory post-simulation. Admiral Valeris Esquils. Rattled. This is a training exercise, not a death sentence. Perhaps a less extreme scenario? The human shook his head. You wanted to understand us. This is how you learn. He turned to the cadets. Consider this your midterm exam. The simulator activated, projecting a three-dimensional battlefield. A fractured moon orbiting. A dying star, its surface scarred by plasma storms and littered with the wreckage of 1,000 ships. The scenario was the Battle of Clyde, a conflict the Galactic archives dismissed as a minor territorial dispute. The display showed 12 humans defending a research outpost against a Kryn invasion force of 10,000. The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. The Takari general muttered, "This is a slaughter waiting to happen." The human's lips twitched, not quite a smile. Watch. The simulation began. The Kryn forces advanced in perfect formation, their biomechanical warriors synchronized. To a hive mind. The cadets, tasked with replicating the human strategy, manned the simulator's control pods. They deployed textbook tactics, fortified perimeters, coordinated strikes, layered defenses. Within 6 minutes, their forces were annihilated. The display showed their units scattered, their objectives failed, their casualties total. Reset, the human said. The simulator reloaded, this time showing the human approach. The 12 markers representing the human team didn't form a defensive line. They didn't attack head-on. Instead, they vanished into the moon's labyrinthine caves, striking from impossible angles. They sabotaged Kryn communication relays, turning the hive mind's strength into chaos as units attacked each other. They rigged plasma storms to detonate supply caches. By the third hour, the Kryn forces were in disarray, their numerical advantage meaningless. "That's not warfare," a Saphirian cadet protested, her voice trembling with awe and fear. "That's manipulation. It's survival," the human corrected. "You fight with rules. We fight with reality." The simulation ended with the Kryn retreating, their losses catastrophic, their will to fight broken. The human casualties? 0. The auditorium was silent, save for the hum of the projector. The Vorn instructors' crystals pulsed erratically. You didn't kill their soldiers. You destroyed their ability to wage war. Exactly, the human said. Killing is temporary. Breaking an enemy's spirit is permanent. Admiral Valeris cleared his throat, his confidence shaken. "Computer, load the next scenario." The display flickered and a new warning appeared. Scenario classification, void level. Access restricted, psychological impact warning. The human's expression darkened. "That's the Tyran campaign." The Tyran campaign wasn't in the Galactic archives. Whispers among the cadets suggested it was a myth, a war so devastating it had been erased from official records. The display showed a single human operative against an enemy force spanning 50 star systems. The numbers were incomprehensible. 100 million combatants, 12,000 warships, entire planets fortified as staging grounds. The human's role? To end the war in 48 hours. "That's impossible," a Takari cadet whispered. "No one could." The human cut him off. "Computer, show them." The simulation unfolded like a nightmare. The human operative didn't engage the enemy's fleets or armies. Instead, he targeted their cultural and psychological foundations. He infiltrated their communication networks, broadcasting messages that sowed doubt among their ranks. He sabotaged their sacred monuments, turning symbols of unity into rallying points for dissent. By the second day, the Tyran Empire was tearing itself apart, its leaders surrendering not to the human, but to their own fractured ideologies. The cadets watched in stunned silence as the simulation ended. The Tyran Empire, once a galactic superpower, was reduced to scattered factions, their war machine dismantled without a single direct confrontation. The human's voice was quiet, but piercing. You don't defeat an enemy by destroying their weapons, you defeat them by destroying their reason to fight. The auditorium's atmosphere shifted. The cadets, trained to see warfare as a science, were confronting a truth they couldn't quantify. The Cypherian strategist, her bioluminescence dimmed, raised a trembling hand. Why do humans fight like this? What drives you to this? The human paused, his eyes distant, as if reliving 1,000 battles. Because we come from a world that tries to kill us every day. Storms, predators, disease, everything on Earth was a threat. We didn't survive by being stronger or faster. We survived by being the ones who refused to stop. The plot twist came without warning. The auditorium's lights flickered, and the emergency klaxons blared. The holographic display shifted to a live feed of the War College's orbital perimeter. A fleet of unknown ships, sleek, organic, and utterly alien, had appeared without triggering the early warning systems. The computer's voice was grim. Hostile fleet detected. 1,200 vessels. Intent, containment, and assimilation. Estimated. Time to breach, 9 minutes. Panic erupted. Cadets scrambled to their stations. Instructors shouted orders, and Admiral Valaris Esquils flared in alarm. How did they bypass our defenses? He demanded. The human remained calm, his voice cutting through the chaos. They didn't bypass them. They hacked your systems months ago, studying your every move. They're not here to fight. They're here to learn how you think. The Vorn instructor's crystals cracked slightly, a rare sign of fear. You've seen them before. The human nodded. They call themselves the observers. They don't conquer through force. They absorb knowledge, dissect cultures, and rewrite their enemies' minds to serve them. They've been watching humanity for centuries, but they never dared engage us directly. Why not? A Takari cadet asked, his claws digging into his seat. The human's smile was chilling. Because they learned what happens when you try to understand a species that thrives on chaos. The tactical display showed the War College's fleet engaging the observers. Their advanced weapons fired with precision, but the enemy ships moved like liquid, evading every shot. The cadets' textbook formations were useless against an enemy that didn't fight like one. The computer's analysis was brutal, defensive. Success probability, 0.03%. Admiral Valaris turned to the human. You have to help us. You fought them before. No, the human said, his voice steady. You have to help yourselves. I'm not your savior, I'm your mirror. The revelation hit like a shockwave. The human wasn't just a guest lecturer, he was a test. The observers had chosen the War College as their next target because of him. His presence was the catalyst, his combat record the bait. The enemy wanted to see if the galaxy's finest could match the human's unpredictable nature. Computer, the human said, implement my contingency protocol. The display shifted, revealing a strategy that made the cadets recoil. It wasn't about defending the War College. It was about turning it into a trap. Corridors would become choke points, environmental systems would be weaponized, and the cadets themselves would become instruments of chaos. This is madness, a Cypherian cadet protested. We're scholars, not savages. You're survivors. The human countered. And survival means embracing the parts of yourselves you've been taught to suppress. The observers' boarding craft breached the outer hull. The sound of their approach, mechanical yet alive, echoed through the corridors. The cadets, trained for simulations, now faced real combat. The human walked among them, his presence a strange mix of reassurance and dread. You have one advantage, he said. The observers think they understand you. Prove them wrong. What followed was 23 minutes of chaos. The cadets abandoned their doctrines, fighting with a ferocity they didn't know they possessed. The Takari used their claws to tear through bulkheads, creating ambushes. The Cypherians hacked the enemy's neural network, turning their own sensors against them. The Vorn weaponized their crystalline bodies, reflecting energy blasts to devastating effect. The human guided them, not with orders but with questions. What are they afraid of? What can't they predict? When the dust settled, the observers were gone. Their fleet had retreated, their boarding craft disabled, their assimilation protocols in ruins. The War College was battered but intact. The cadets, their uniforms torn and their minds forever changed, stood in the auditorium, staring. At the human. "You didn't fight," a Vorn cadet said, her voice hollow. "Why?" "Because this wasn't my test," the human replied. "It was yours, and you passed." Admiral Veloris, his quills drooping with exhaustion, looked at the tactical display. The enemy fleet was transmitting a single message: human influence detected. Engagement terminated. Threat level reclassified, unquantifiable. What are we now? A Takari cadet asked, her claws still trembling. The human's expression softened, but his eyes burned with intensity. "You're what you choose to be. The galaxy will try to define you, control you, destroy you. But you get to decide who you are when the stars burn out." He walked toward the exit, pausing only to look back. "Update your archives. The next time someone asks what humans are, tell them, we're the ones who teach the galaxy to survive." The auditorium was silent as he left. The cadets and instructors stood among the wreckage of their assumptions, their understanding of warfare forever altered. The War College's systems began their recovery protocols, but the real change was in the beings who would carry this lesson to the stars. A new entry appeared in the Galactic database: Human Combat Doctrine. When survival is at stake, humans do not fight to win. They fight to redefine the rules of existence. What would you do if the galaxy tested your limits? Share your thoughts in the comments below. How would you survive against an enemy that knows your every move? Subscribe and join the discussion to uncover the secrets of human resilience.